That one's Weird Al and Amish Paradise. I'm working on changing it, though.
Okay, I thought it was, and I was like, wait, that can't be it. I mean, it could, but I was like, wait, I don't know if that like has a meaning for the movie that I'm missing, or.
Yeah.
It is storming hard here, FYI, so
Oh, nice.
hoping I don't lose power.
Oh, I didn't like that picture.
Hey.
Okay, there it is.
Hey.
Now it's right. Sorry about that.
All good. Eric, how you feeling?
Turning the corner.
Good.
I actually just ate a meal that was not ran through a blender for the first time in a week. So.
Oh my gosh, that sounds awful.
I'm just kind of working on like regaining my energy because I wasn't really able to eat normal for about a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
we were worried about you.
It's taking a little bit to pop back.
No doubt.
We are live.
Tell me more about your medical stuff while we're live.
I mean, I'm an open book with that stuff,
Patreon exclusive. Eric's HIPAA record.
I've been complaining about my tummy on the show for years.
I've got a word. Hey, Eric, did you know? Oh man, I can hear myself. Can y'all hear me? Doubling up?
For a second,
That's
I
me.
could.
Because I have my headphones next to the speaker or microphone.
Oh. Eric, did you see that the guy that did this is the 10 Cloverfield Lane guy?
I did not.
Yeah,
I saw
same
that.
director.
Saw that name. Thought I recognized it, but.
Oh, why the fuck is the NRA calling me?
What?
Excuse me?
Oh.
The NRA?
Casey, you got some splaining to do.
I actually owned guns that were my dad's hunting guns after he died, and they are stashed in the attic at my mom's house somewhere in the back corner. I haven't seen them for decades.
Seems like a safe way to store a gun.
Yeah, they were put up there to hide from my dirtbag stepbrother.
There you go.
When he was in his methy days.
Back in the methy days.
I'm just waiting for some hot water to boil here, and then
You're good.
we'll be ready. Just check for some fan mail. We got some good Instagrams today. Your friend Caitlin asked, "What are you most proud of?" And I just wrote, "I'm too tired for this question."
Nick sends the best questions. Like he'll send them in for plug it up to, and I'm always like, Nick, you are just a gem.
We got a couple old ones from last week. I think
Yeah,
we
there
can
were-
repurpose well for tweets.
We should, because there were some good ones. Good idea.
I think a couple came in throughout the week this week too.
Yeah. Oh, we actually got a lot.
Oh yeah.
Looks like no fan mail. That's fine. Emails for old people. I'm told. Okay, BRB. Oh, I'm just gonna grab the iPad and then I'm ready to go.
Dolly Parton and Willie Nelson caught on camera in golf cart at Dollywood during filming of Christmas movie.
God, that sounds amazing.
Yes. Must be a slow news day, though.
Hey, I'll take that.
Say something.
Hello.
Hello.
Uh-oh.
Hello.
Good morning.
Wrong headphones.
Hey. Eric, do we have the same headphones?
These are Sennheiser DT990 Pros.
I have the 770s.
Oh, my number's higher. No big deal.
I know. You bitch. What the
I
fuck?
love Sennheisers are like my go-to. I won't like buy anything else.
I forget
These
which number mine are.
were inherited from my brother.
My only beef with these is they're like hefty. They're really good for mixing music because it's like a clean sound, but they're heavy and they like push in on my head, which I don't like. And I can't wear them for like long periods of time, which is why I wear these cushy heavenly beauties at work all day, these are Sennheiser HD 599s.
I've got the 569s.
Special retro edition. They're like cream and like brown colored.
The color palette is pretty cool. Yeah, I got I took my brother for his 30th. We got piercings. So he got his lobes done, and then I got second holes done in my lobes. And now whenever I put on my headphones, I'm like very gingerly like putting them on and taking them off.
Oh fuck! iPad. Please tell me it's charged. Yay! Okay. I just finished this movie. Spoiler alert! It's really fucking good.
I'm gonna blur my background. Look at all my shit in the background.
That
Packages,
looks good.
footstool for the short people. Son of a bitch.
Gotta have a footstool.
Got to. It's a two-tiered one. I love it.
Same.
We got one of those too for call.
My aunt got it for me because I was at my aunt's one of those people like she visits your house and is like, oh, you don't have this thing, then you're gonna have it like 3 days later. But she went overkill and got me the stool is way too well, I thought it was way too big, and then I'm like, actually this is kind of perfect for like things I have to reach.
You know what? I appreciate that vibe. Oh my god, this is an ugly background. Maybe I'll
The
keep
kids show.
it.
Oh god, I need to go and find the rest of these bumpers. Let's do some Joe Bob. Okay. Stand by. Is everybody ready?
Jeez.
Yep.
Sure.
Casey, it looks like that's kind of your hair a little bit.
I know. It worked out pretty nice.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing Prey, the latest film in the Predator franchise, which has the most infuriating naming structure, I think, of any franchise. The last three movies have been Predators, The Predator, and Prey, which, no thank you. Anyway, this thing just dropped on Hulu and broke a bunch of records from what I saw for like Hulu streaming releases or something. So it's all a buzz on the internet. So we're gonna review that tonight. Joining me, first up from Indiana, please welcome Casey to the show.
Hello.
Next up from Richmond, Virginia, please welcome Caitlin.
Hello. Tonight I'm in Horga for the Patreon viewers.
I see that.
so-
And last up tonight from the lovely Pacific Northwest, bringing a West Coast vibe to us this week, please welcome Ariel to the show.
Hi.
Schnars is out this week. Who knows where he is? Probably gallivanting off with some business dudes in suits or something. You know what he does.
Dudes in suits.
I've never seen a picture of Schnars in a suit, but now I know that I want one.
Somewhere there's a picture of him and I from Mark's wedding where somebody had turned it into one of those memes that was like, find someone that looks at you the way drunk.
Oh,
Eric looks
yeah,
at you.
yeah.
Aw, that's adorable.
Wait, was
pretty-
it you looking at John?
Yes, it was.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, of course.
It was pretty pure. It was pretty pure.
They were pretty
Um,
suited up too. So
Yeah, we were
Cute.
all suited up. It's wild. That's still my suit from, I don't know how long has Mark been married, like 7 years or something like that. I'm not buying a new suit. It's not happening.
Eric
Anyway,
said, I'll be buried in this suit.
I know. All right, let's do it. Let's jump in and talk about Prey.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time. Main feature.
You know, it's been one of those weeks on the internet where like this is a movie that's, I feel like I almost just want to get this out, like the discourse on this movie a little bit. We don't have to get that deep into it, but it's been one of those. First of all, there's like the obvious discourse around this movie where like some dingus on like some conservative incel like YouTube channel was like talking shit about this movie, blah blah, like very predictable, and like
You can just say John, it's fine.
but it set Twitter like a flame, which I get it. It's a dumb opinion. That's fine. But what's wild is if you really like take a step back and pay attention to these kind of things, it's like 7,000 people responding to the same like one YouTube review. Like obviously these people are out here, but like we're all getting ourselves frothed up here when I feel like we should just be celebrating that like it's a really good movie.
and let's face it, that's really all they're doing is trying to get us frothed up.
Well, exactly. I feel like at some point you're just participating in the troll machine at some point.
Yep.
But I also, it's been fun watching everyone on Twitter become an expert in Comanche. Like, who knew there were 10,000 Twitter experts in the Comanche language? That's been amazing to see.
This week we've had a lot of Comanche experts, some FBI experts, experts on warrants.
Oh my goodness, just insane. But no, they did. So they record they dubbed a whole version in Comanche, right? So then I assume
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
dubbed with an English subtitles or something.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. It's kind of cool they did that. Is it a fully separate version on Hulu?
I think it's one of the streams, but I'm not 100%.
Or
You like have to go in and like toggle over and select it, but it's
so there's
it's
only
just
one
dubbed.
stream, and then you change in the settings, basically. is what
Yeah,
you're
there's
saying.
an audio menu, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it's I was hoping that it would be dubbed, or like I was hoping that they filmed in conjunction like scenes in Comanche, but it's just like a dub over
I'll
the
be
one take.
I'll be honest. Maybe
Yeah,
this
it's
is
the same actors doing the dubbing, but
maybe
it's
this
still,
is just like my simpleton ways, but they actually do it here exactly the way I like it, which is where you're speaking English, but like appropriately accented where it's appropriate, right, for like the actors or whatever. And then when we're not supposed to understand what somebody's saying, like then they're just speaking in French because we don't like the whole point is that our characters don't understand like what they're saying.
right.
But like few things, I don't like it when it goes too far in the other direction. Like my example is always I find The Hunt for Red October to be one of the stupidest movies of all time because I cannot watch a sub full of supposedly Russian soldiers talking to each other in like 4 different accents. Like Sean Connery is a Russian command. Like it's no. Like okay,
That's fair.
that's my
You're gonna get
rant.
angry tweets again.
That's my rant. But I thought they handled this well, and it's nice that like, yes, they gave us the like, I don't know, maybe mainstream version of it, but also that they provided this other option for, let's say, more adventurous moviegoers than I. Is a nice little touch.
Eric,
Yeah, and
I'm really sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, and when the Comanche is used in the English version of the film, I think it works well because you generally know from visual cues and context exactly what they're saying.
being
So you're not
said, yeah.
lost at all.
For sure.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Caitlin?
I was gonna say I hope we get another nice review like this one from a couple weeks ago when you didn't like the Monsters trailer. Rob Zombie is pretty good for not being an accomplished movie maker. This kid doesn't know horror.
He called me kid. How flattering.
This kid doesn't know horror.
That's like that YouTube comment here. Like, I mean, no, I guess maybe that thing with like where people find our Ghost Watch review and they get mad because they think it's Ghost Watch the movie, and then they just talk shit about us in the comments. And it was the same kind of thing. It was somebody probably younger than me being like, "These fucking kids these days, like, bro, I'm 40, literal 40." Just saying.
Subtitle: I'm 40.
All right, Caitlin, please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, the word of the day is apex, coming to us from early 17th century and originally from Latin. And it means the highest point or climax. And I think you can guess why I might have chosen apex for today.
It is about predators.
It is? And you know what? I didn't know that going in.
I thought it was about prey. Caitlin, tell me about this movie.
Yeah, so this comes to us from Dan Trachtenberg, who we also saw from 10 Cloverfield Lane. So he's kind of got this like cool position of doing like taking little micro universes within larger universes, like he did with 10 Cloverfield Lane and here with the Predator property, and giving us like a little sneak peek, a little like vignettes into these worlds, which I think is really cool. But this is in fact a Predator movie. Smarter people than I will have known that going in. But
Wait a
released on
second.
Hulu
Wait a second.
here.
Wait a second. Back it up a second.
Yeah, I was about
Are
to
you
stop
saying you
too.
actually didn't know?
I truly didn't know.
When did you figure it
Really?
out?
When I heard the like click 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 click, when I heard the Predator noises in the
That's
beginning.
You didn't know until after you
Amazing.
started the movie?
Yes, I didn't know.
Caitlin.
I had seen a teaser trailer and it was just like the bear stuff, and I was like, maybe there's like a sick something out there hunting the bear. I
Caitlin,
truly did not know.
What a pure and magical cinematic experience you had.
I know.
Yeah.
That's special.
I mean, you find out pretty like before the title card drops,
Yeah,
you
but
hear
still.
the clicking. But yeah,
That's exciting. I like that.
it was something.
Absolutely
Made me
amazing.
feel real dumb.
See,
I'm
the
just
teaser-
shocked you missed all of it on social
If
media.
I ever,
that-
yeah,
I know.
if I ever managed to, you should feel good about that. Because if I ever manage to stumble into a movie like that, even more unaware than I almost always am, that's a treat. Because then
Yeah,
it's just all
absolutely.
surprise from there.
Well, and I will. We'll get into it, but I am glad that I was surprised going in. But yeah, this is part of the Predator universe, but takes place in 1719. So we're going back in time, and we basically follow a young Comanche woman named Naru, and she has a brother named Tabe, and Tabe is pretty entrenched in sort of like this warrior group and hunter group within the Comanche, and she would really like to be a part of that. And we get to see her sort of figure out what it takes to be a warrior, and we see that she alone, no one else can sort of sense that there is, not just the predators in terms of the bears and the mountain lions and the colonizers, but there's another predator, a capital P predator out there too.
Also learning that at the same time, Caitlin.
I was like, oh my God.
Casey, what did you think about Prey?
I was highly impressed. I've been longtime Predator fan and tried to apologize for the bad ones, even, but even I gave up after a point thinking that they were going to be good. So I got surprised by the teaser trailer, much like Caitlin going into the movie. At first, I didn't know what it was until there was a point when I saw the laser sights in there, and I was like, oh, but it turns out this time, this is the best effort for a Predator movie they've put out in a good while, and I really liked how it played out. I think I loved the setting of it, and with the Native Americans and seeing their point of view and how they lived and whatnot, and how it kind of worked in there. That was cool. I also liked that we didn't get the same Predator that we got every movie. It was kind of its own unique thing. And I'll get into it later. I can't remember reading about one of the creature creators talking about the Predator for this movie and some of the reasons why it looks different based on the climate from where they're from, stuff like that. It was pretty cool. They put a lot of thought in it, and I think it really plays across on screen. I would say if I had to nitpick, it was a little slow starting out for me. But as she starts to realize that there's something else out there in the woods, it just keeps picking up until we get a grand crescendo at the end, and it's pretty fun to watch. It's a blast.
Ariel.
Yeah, I love this movie. I like a lot of the Predator movies. I mean, some of them are really dumb, but I usually have a good time. It's been ages since I've seen any of them except the original. But I don't know. I wasn't going in expecting a ton out of it, and I was pleasantly surprised at how good it is. The main woman, Naru, played by Amber Midthunder, I thought she was fantastic. And one of the things that I really liked about this is that it's not your standard Predator movie where you're following a group of like military style people who are all muscle bound and trying to fight with guns. Instead, it's almost like a coming of age story where this young woman is sort of learning her role and learning what to do. And I think what's fun too is that all of her supposed weaknesses end up being strengths later on. And anytime she does kind of fall and make a mistake, you can watch her later learn from those mistakes and use them against the Predator, which is really great.
Right,
so
process.
I thought all of that was fantastic. Also, just the fact that we have, Indigenous actors actually playing Indigenous characters, that there were Indigenous people behind the scenes, like as the producer and other roles behind the camera, is all really great. And it's actually a really beautiful film too. I mean, it's so pretty to look at. And I just really like the idea of having it in the past where we're not as reliant on guns. Plus the Predator is really neat, the way that they changed him, because it's supposed to be, 300 years in the past. So that was really cool too to see, especially the difference in his mask. I thought that was all really great. I loved it.
Caitlin.
Yeah, I have to agree. I really do like the bone-esque mask that we've got here. It's really cool in terms of creature design. I am really glad I did not know this was a Predator property, because I am not a big Predator fan. I'm not a huge fan of the franchise in general, but I really loved this, and it's definitely my favorite Predator movie, and it might make my top 10 for the year. I really enjoyed it. I thought the characters were written well. I think that Naru has, they could have gone a certain way and made her like the best warrior ever, and they like simply don't accept her because she's a woman, and that's not the case. She's, she wants to be a part of this, and she's learning as she goes through her mistakes, and I love that. And sort of watching her observe things and learn it's good exposition, because again, like they're not telling us how it works in this time frame. We're watching her learn how it works and sort of learning with her. I love a good brother-sister story, and this has a good bit of that in it. So that was really nice. And I loved, some of the brother-sister moments, like when they're at the tree tied together. It's really neat to see. So excited to talk more.
Yeah, I loved this movie too. It is, I am particularly enamored with movies set in North America, like around this time, basically just kind of like pre-colonization. Like The New World is one of my like top 10 movies of all time. Like anything set in this kind of pre-fully colonized, like idyllic, like it's sort of it's brutal in some ways, but it's also just gorgeous. And like it really is, I think Ariel said, it's a beautiful movie. and it's actually why I didn't find it that slow. It's a slow burn, and it's a slow ramp up to like real good Predator action, but I think it really works in the film's favor because by the time he starts popping off in the third act, you're like so amped for it. But even before that, like in the second act, you get that scene with the bear that like fucks. That scene is the best.
It looks really good.
Like when
I
he's
don't know
like
what the budget for this
showering,
was,
he's
but-
like showering in the bear's blood as he like holds it over. It's so
Such a
fucking
good scene.
And the
Is
whole
he drinking it, or is he just?
it
like,
looked to me like a
victoriously,
victory
like,
shower, like an
Okay, yeah.
but like
Yeah.
it's man, it's just an incredibly smart film. So we have actually reviewed a handful of these movies. We've done AVP Requiem, which is pretty bad, but like I kind of like my larger point about the Predator movies. I don't take them super seriously, and I've kind of had fun with all of them on some level. Even AVP Requiem, which is like a trash tier movie, was had some moments of fun in its own right. It's probably the worst that we've done. So then you did Predators, right, which was Adrian Brody. That was a pretty fun little one where like the commandos, they'd all been abducted from different places and put in this like game reserve basically.
Yeah, that one's fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
Last summer, okay, I say last summer. No, it couldn't have been last summer. It must have been a couple of years ago, right? Pre-pandemic. Holy shit. What is time? That just like really messed me up when I thought about how long ago that probably was. But the Predator is a hot mess too, but it has some real good like dumb, big budget action going on in it. And you know, big giant Predator is kind of stupid and fun. I'm into that. But this is like, as far as just solid movie making, I've heard a lot of people say it's the best sequel, and the only other one that would really be in contention would be Predator 2, which has its own cult audience, and throwing the Predator in New York City is kind of brilliant in its own right. And Danny Glover from that era, like everything. But
oh yeah,
this might be I think it's a contender for the best sequel for sure. It's a really brilliant idea. I think what this movie does that a lot of the other sequels lose, in particular the Predators, is that the way that it just creates a fully fledged story that could be a script on its own and then drops a Predator in the middle of it. Like, the Predator, I think, falters by making it all about the Predator, right? And but if you go back to that original movie, those are like commando dudes on a mission that had nothing to do with a Predator that just happened to run into one. And so this film, even though it's so out of left field feeling, it shares that lineage in a way that makes it really true to the original. And you're also just looking at, it's almost like the way Assassin's Creed is like, it's always about an assassin, but it's jumping around to different periods in history and different types of combat and stuff. It's just the same idea. Like, it's really a lot of the same ideas from that original film, but just done in a totally different time period.
Yeah, and people are already clamoring for more. I mean, the most common thing I've seen since this released is people winning Samurai versus Predator and Viking versus Predator.
Vikings,
cool.
Vikings would be sick.
Yeah.
I think that the story is really compelling. I like the changes that the subtle changes to the Predator. You get a lot of cool Predator gadgets. And there are some really well done like callbacks and sort of what do they call it? Is it like Chekhov's gun? Is that what it's called when they like plant something?
Yeah.
Although it's funny.
Quicksand.
I mean, I'm generally the quicksand was one. I'm generally like, I will always like sometimes don't catch this stuff, but I feel like I'm doing better lately. But that's gone. Because at no point in the first act when she had this like herb and was like, this lowers your body temperature, did I go, that might help later. Did not occur to me until
she's like, it'll cool his blood. I was like, oh, sick.
So
like,
you're
that's awesome.
my moment like yours, Caitlin, where like you said you felt dumb, was when that came back around me and I'm like, yeah, fucking duh. They see with heat. Like, of course that makes sense. Like, they made such a point.
You knew, right?
But yeah, just like all that stuff comes around really well in the end. There's a super awesome, adorable movie dog in this movie.
I love that dog.
That dog, I was
too.
really concerned. And I'm not usually
So
one
was
that's
I.
like,
I had a
you know,
feeling, I just had a feeling they were going to let that dog pull through.
he's very smart. Like, he knows when to fuck off and come back. Like, he's
He
like,
sure does.
well,
Listen, I think that the people who made this movie knew that it was okay to spoiler alert kill the brother, but not okay to kill the dog.
Yeah.
I was very sad about the brother, but I love their moments
It's
together.
just so fun. Like, and again, another like subtle planted thing is she runs into a steel bear trap sort of early in the movie, and I did kind of go like that doesn't really it didn't really make sense, and I was thinking like, okay, I don't know my history like that well, but maybe there were some settlers here, but it's just touched on and then it goes away for a long time, and then like right at the right time when they need the second act to pick up, then we see these like French explorers basically who have run into them and kidnapped her, and then we get a chance to just see like the predator just F shit up, and it's really cool because you also don't like those people. So it's like a fun way to just see the predator murder a bunch of people that are gross and you hate them. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
in the context.
And it was historically accurate.
Well, of course. Yeah, of course. So
Yeah.
They really went for the fucked up teeth of it all for those colonizers.
they
Sure
did. They did. The natives, though, some pearly whites. I don't know what they're doing. We do see her like floss with a stick at one point, but I'm not sure that that's going to get the job done there. In fact, I stopped in the middle of this and was like, did anybody have teeth? Like, is this accurate? How do people have teeth in this movie?
Eric, pull up your Google searches while you're watching Prey. Did settlers colonizers have teeth?
Well, those guys I believe didn't have teeth, but like the natives were like white, like just all their teeth white. I don't know.
Well, better than the actors being white. So
Well,
Good
I
point.
really did like the. I feel like I don't know. We talked over text a little bit about how someone was like complaining that this was like a Mary Sue type thing, and I've already said that like I don't think that's the case at all. She's perfectly flawed, and we see her grow in a realistic way.
it's a silly. I mean, it's a silly argument. It doesn't. There's no part.
Doesn't
of
make
that
sense.
tracks,
Like
yeah.
there's
Right.
no substance there. But I also really, they could have gone a couple like silly ways in terms of being like, yeah, girl power, but like not in a way that felt genuine or cool. But the one part that did, like the line that I was like hoping for, but that like wouldn't go quite cross the line into too corny, is when she's talking to one of the French trappers or colonizers, and she's like, you don't think I'm dangerous because you don't see me as a threat, and then like she uses him as bait essentially
Yeah, it was
for
like
the
a little
predator.
on the nose.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
little on the nose, but like I feel like that was just enough, because they could have gone in the direction, like I said, of having her be like the best warrior ever and nobody takes her seriously, but she's
Well,
not. She's learning, and
and
it's really cool.
It's woven into the story, like the fact
Yeah.
that the predator, like the whole, it just tracks the way they did it. Like the whole predator's deal is he lands on the planet, presumably they know nothing about Earth, and he's trying to, like discover, basically trace the like food chain up to find the like apex predator so that he can conquer it or whatever. And so we see through the movie, which is a pretty cool thing considering this character is wordless, right? Like we see the first scene with the rat and the snake, and like I think the characters themselves do identify it at some point, which helps bring that point across. Because I wonder, because I had that part spoiled for me just in this Twitter fight nonsense going on, but like so I could immediately was like, oh okay. As soon as I saw the snake and I feel like if I didn't know that, it would have taken me a little longer to like tie it together in my head. But we see that that's what he's doing. And then it's sort of explained to us like, oh, it doesn't consider her a threat. So like she's able to take him down because she uses that to her advantage. Like she just ends up being smarter than like, right? Because
Yeah.
predators are designed for brute force attacks, which is
Well,
why,
it's
in
like-
every predator movie, for the most part, some human has been able to trick them like into dying. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, and it's like with her strength as a warrior, it's not like she's the strongest or necessarily best hunter on the team, and it's not like she's like the smartest person ever. She's just really good at learning, and I like that. It's not like she's like, obviously it hunts like blah blah blah. It's not, it's not really like shitty dialogue. They're not Mary suing her in terms of her intelligence. We get to sort of experience it with her as our proxy as we sort of move through this and get to know what she's dealing with.
It's
and I
sort of-
love that.
Well, and the fact that it's a coming of age process for her, and she's wanting to prove herself that she's ready for that next step and whatnot, and we kind of grow along with her with that throughout that too. Like you said, she's learning stuff as she goes, whereas we're learning off of her and whatnot. So it just makes good synergy.
It's sort
It's
of
good writing.
Yeah,
It
it's really good
reminded-
writing. And I also really liked how in the conversations with like her mother and her brother and other warriors, hunters from the tribe, we see that they all want her to be learning medicine and doing foraging and things like that. Whereas she really wants to join the hunters and be a warrior. And I think what's cool is that in becoming a warrior, she doesn't get rid of all the skills she already learned. Like the things that she learned in sort of the more traditionally feminine roles in their society are actually what help her in a large part
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
fighting the predator.
It reminded me of the Lara Croft reboot from like 5 or 6 years ago. Maybe that was longer than that. Maybe I'm doing that again.
No, I
But-
think it's about 4 or 5.
But like the same way, if you played through that game, and then I assume the movie's similar, but like you spend the first hours and hours of that game, she's just trying to survive and doesn't really like, she has to learn the skills. It's like learn the skills and build. And like we see that whole process through the movie, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I like that it did catch me by surprise a few times in terms of like good writing, because there's that one kind of like antagonistic dude on the hunting team who's like, we don't need a cook to come with us, and you're like, in my head I was like, that guy's gonna fucking die, like he's gonna die because we want him to die. But it's not later, it's like right away he's on the branch, and then the mountain lion or I don't know if it's the mountain lion or the predator at that point, just fucking takes him out, and I was like, all right, we're going hard.
You know when it's gonna happen, because like I think that's the predator. I think that's when they're trying to drag her back to camp, right? Like literally drag her back to camp. But
They're like sitting in the tree hunting the lion. But he gets taken out so.
I know the
like,
scene you're talking about,
swiftly.
but like they like telegraph it too, because the two dudes are just exchanging a smug look back and forth, like they're just so self-satisfied.
Yeah.
And then the soundtrack, just everything quiets for a second. You're like, oh, you're fucking dead right now.
Which like, but I think in a more conventional script, maybe it would have been like, okay, that's our like little like secondary antagonist, and he will get his. But this was just
Everybody just
immediate,
dies,
and the kills like that were surprising to me in a good way.
It's the action is really well directed, and I really enjoyed the first section of this movie. Like I like how sparse the predator is, because it's always interesting when he shows up, and it's paced just well enough where you keep dropping back in with him and seeing like where the process is at here. And then once that bear scene hits, you're like, oh shit, like that scene is just so well done. My only real complaint is I feel like it's a little dark, and I've spent years complaining that modern movies are like overlit, so I don't want to like course correct too hard. And I'm also not convinced that it may not have something to do with streaming, and that streaming could be compressing the blacks in a way that makes them hard to see. But some of the night scenes in particular in the finale, I lost full track of what was happening on, I feel like. And I had lights down and like was like watching it properly.
Honestly,
Yeah, I had the same problem.
Honestly, and I'm not making any comment on your social status, but it could be your TV even that's struggling with the blacks.
It's pretty decent. I mean, and I did see some other people out there on Twitter. But it is not. What is it? There's one kind of TV that's better with blacks, right? It's like OLED or something.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah. I don't. It's definitely like an LCD. So.
Well, and speaking of like the color and like the effects and everything, the bear in particular looked good to me. Like I was very scared of the bear, but I'm trying to find the budget for this, because it never was going to get a theatrical release, if I'm not mistaken. It was always going to be direct to streaming. And I feel like it looks really good.
I've seen,
despite the color issues, but it looks good.
I've seen speculation that there might be some regret over there that they didn't, because considering how big of a success it was on Hulu.
I mean, this would be a fun one to see on the big screen.
Yeah, I kind of regret that I didn't
Yeah.
get a chance to. Yeah, yeah.
But
There was
as
something
far as
kind of cool about like all watching it together the day it came out. Like on BGH Slack, there was like, "Have you watched it yet?" And that was cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Is it 2 hours for the show? Because if not, then no, I have not."
But yeah, I think it looked great. I think all of the nature shots were so well done. And I think that, you know, most of the action scenes were really amazing. I think some of the animals didn't look perfect. Like I think the CGI was noticeable in some of those scenes. On the other hand, you know, for the sake of animals themselves and the actors and like artists that have to choreograph that stuff, it's probably better that they don't use the real animals,
No,
even if they would look
no, I think
better.
the
So
CGI
I'm
is really
totally
good.
willing to overlook it.
I think it's really good. That bear, it's so funny. I think I'm just accustomed to like, I know bears can be dangerous, but I feel like
Yeah.
I'm accustomed to when I see a bear, it's like a viral video of just some like lazy bear
"Hi."
strolling through a neighborhood looking for a
Right.
garbage can, and it's on the news because they're like, "Yo, there's a bear just walking down the street." This bear is rip shit. This bear is like
Yeah.
murder bear, and it's
He's
really
like-
it's
grimy
really
and-
effective.
Scary.
It's really effective. Yeah.
He's huge too, and he's fast. And I'm like, oh god, bears are so scary.
They are. The
I
last time I
liked-
was in Yellowstone, they closed off a bunch of trails because of black bear. Apparently, somebody walked near a baby bear that they didn't notice, and the mom just like flew and just ran at them, and this kid got his like back all scratched
man.
up. Luckily, he
Oh.
lived, but they had closed off like part of the park to keep you away.
It's
from
really
it.
cool seeing the predator. It gets fucked up a lot, and like that in itself is somewhat of a hallmark of these movies. But I feel like they really lean into it here because he doesn't really have guns or like lasers. It's all this like he's got the like three. His little sight thing is like now. Casey, maybe you know. It's been years since I've seen the first. The 3-dot sight thing is like a classic part of it. But wasn't it a
Yeah.
laser or gun or something before?
Yeah, it was a laser cannon on his shoulder.
Right.
in
So
the
here
originals.
it's like these sort of like high tech like bolts of like
Yeah,
they're
it's kind of like
arrows.
it's
kinda.
like a futuristic alien crossbow.
Yeah, exactly. Which was a nice touch. And it's just cool. It's cool. An aspect of this movie you don't get in any of the other ones is seeing people who are completely unfamiliar with technology interacting with a predator, and also people who probably have realistic feeling legends about maybe people from other galaxy or like spiritual
Yeah.
realms or something. You know what I mean? Like they don't go into that heavy, but it's sort of in the air, and it's kind of it's really cool.
That was one of my favorite parts of this in terms of like the little things they snuck in with the writing and whatnot, because I never picked up on the first time they showed us the stuff with the helmet. We see that when her brother comes charging in the horse and smacks the predator in the side of the head while she's distracting it, knocks his helmet off, he starts shooting his bolts and stuff, and they're showing us that scene with these bolts flying wild, and they're making a pretty good point to show us how they kind of change direction and whatnot, and they're going to the tree where that thing's
Okay,
pointing,
I
and
kinda-
they showed us, they telegraphed us, but it never clicked for me.
I kind of missed it. Yeah.
So when you get to the end and you see her pick up that mask in the finale of this, that was not at all in the front of my thoughts that she was going for that. I was curious of what she was going to do, and then once you see it play out, you're like, "Oh, that was genius."
Until you just said that, I didn't realize that that's what we were seeing in that first action scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
makes
it's
sense.
all really smart script writing because they leave breadcrumbs throughout to give you a hint into what's going to happen later.
Mhm.
It's really good. It all pays off in the end, you know.
And I will say, I was on It's Only a Podcast and was talking to Christian about the quicksand of it all.
Yeah.
Oh, and they
I-
brought back
I mean, like-
movie Quicksand. When was the last time we saw Quicksand?
I
Amazing.
don't know. It gave me
know.
never-ending story
Not
flashbacks.
same.
Or
I don't know.
Princess Bride.
But it's but it was cool because I mean it's early in the movie that we see her like have her first struggle with
That's a
it.
scary
So I
scene,
knew
too.
I knew she wasn't gonna die then, but I was kind of like, what the fuck is gonna happen? Because it wasn't, we see her like trying to throw the axe to like give herself some leverage, and it was really good. Like it wasn't too many takes of like throwing the axe. It wasn't too few. I was like, yep, they got the Goldilocks
Oh.
method down.
Yeah, it's
That
so
gr-
tense.
That girl and her tomahawk too. I mean, sometimes when you do something repetitive like that in real life, and it's kind of like trance-like and whatnot, and those shots of her practicing with her tomahawk in the beginning was that way for me too. It just kind of lulled you into a trance as you're getting into the rhythm of it and whatnot. It was just that was also really well shot.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Whitney, friend of the show, owned some person on Twitter that was like, yeah, so suddenly she's like this great hatchet thrower, and Whitney was like, they literally show her practicing.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like half the
Funny.
movie is her with that
Yeah.
stupid hatchet practicing.
it's like,
Like,
part of the thing.
it's very
Oh, what did you guys think of the rats eating the leg
Oh.
stump?
hardcore. It's pretty hardcore.
Yeah,
Pretty cool. Yeah.
and the fact that
Pretty cool.
when he first woke up and started swinging at him, they didn't run away.
Yeah, they were like, you're not
They're
going
like, no, we're good.
Those are
we're here."
wild. Those are wood rats, Casey. They're hungry. And they're not
know.
going anywhere.
Mm, crazy. It was, I mean, it's like pretty gory. Didn't hold
Yeah.
back.
I love some
Yeah, when
good.
she has to pull that metal out of the guy's leg stump too. Ooh,
Yeah.
that was good.
Yeah.
I love some good glow in the dark rave blood. It's always a lot of fun, spraying everywhere.
Yeah.
It looked so good. Like it could have looked silly, but when she walks up at the end with the head and she's like covered in the like fluorescent, whatever the word is, blood,
Yeah.
and it's like it looks really cool.
Pulls off like some pretty legit comedy too in that scene where the French settlers all try to shoot it at the same time.
Yeah.
And then they all simultaneously stop to like reload their muskets, and he just
Yeah.
looks at him
so
like, "What?"
long.
It's brilliant. Like that's so
It's
funny.
really good.
That one that shot him point blank in the face too with his helmet on, that the ball just bounced off his helmet and killed the guy.
Killed him. Mhm.
Well deserved.
Yeah, there are so many great moments like that and so many tense moments. And I just love that she uses sort of like her natural surroundings too to her advantage, like the beaver dam or the mud, or even
Yeah.
the way that, she escapes from the bear because, she's trained this dog who can, follow her command and stuff and saves her life. It's all just really cool. And I think the whole Mary Sue argument, like you were saying, is just bullshit. And I also think that people who say that she's, too strong or some little girl couldn't do all of this clearly have not watched any Predator movies with their brains turned on. Because even in the very first one, it's like these guys were huge, muscle-bound dudes with, giant guns. And they, like Arnold Schwarzenegger basically defeats him because he covers himself in mud.
Right. It's
Right.
It comes down to intelligence. At
Yes,
the, in the end,
exactly.
always, with
Having
all of
wit
them. Yeah.
and it's
And learning,
It's just
you know,
astounding.
it's-
Exactly.
it's
Yeah,
really
learning
cool.
from what you're seeing him do.
Yeah.
It's like in some ways to me feels like weirdly unlikely that there's been this many Predator movies, but on the other hand, because the Predators are just so sort of mysterious and single-minded, it just sort of lends itself to any kind of story you want to tell. Like
Yeah.
it's what's kind of brilliant about it. Like I'm almost kind of glad. I know that one of the AVP sequels was supposed to take us to Predator Land, and I feel like Requiem. I
right,
feel like
yeah.
Requiem maybe had a scene where we were actually on a ship,
Yeah, that
Mhm.
was on a
It
ship.
does. Yep.
which is maybe the most, which always makes me laugh when I see their like sausage fingers on those Predator suits, like because then I'm just thinking of them trying to do science with those hands, and it's hilarious. Like they still have
Indelicate.
80s monster movie suit hands, which is amazing. Like no dexterity whatsoever. But
Yeah,
like
when
it's
he's pressing on his arm keyboard, just going.
well, yeah, right. I just think like you can't go too far down that rabbit hole because it's so silly. Like you have to keep it mysterious like this, and I
Yeah.
think they're smart to have reined that back in and gone this way with it.
Well, and I'm really interested to see what we get next from Dan Trachtenberg, because I like that he did the same thing with 10 Cloverfield Lane. Like he took an existing
Yeah.
property, sort of like narrowed the scope to like a very specific time and place, and played with the rules of that universe in his own way. And like I said, I'm not a Predator fan, and I loved this because he did kind of like do his own thing with it. And we got like a very small glimpse of a vignette, like I said, and I like that style. I like, that's what I'm going to call it, his vignette style. I want to take some more stuff and do vignettes of it, buddy.
Yeah, I mean this
and
movie.
it's another complicated female character in 10 Cloverfield Lane
Right.
too.
Yeah.
Right.
This movie made me more intrigued by and excited for a Predator thing than maybe ever. Because even with those
Yeah.
AVP movies, like let's be honest, I'm there for the A, not the P. Like, I'm there for some xenomorph action,
No.
like when I'm in those AVP movies. But yeah, that's really good. It brought back to one of my like favorites. So there's like a documentary, Casey, maybe you've seen it, about the making of the first movie, because apparently it was like an epic shit show. Like they went back to that jungle more than once and reshot almost like the whole movie.
What?
'Cause they were just-
Really?
They were
I hadn't
just
seen that.
they were
Or
competing
just quit.
they were like competing producers or directors or something, and like they were making shit up on the fly. There also is this amazing story about how they hired, that was around the time where Jean-Claude Van Damme was huge, so they hired him originally to be the Predator, but what they discovered that when he put that suit on, he couldn't do any of his like jumpy flippy crap, And so he got so frustrated. I can't remember if he was either fired or quit or something. So then they had to go back with the new actor and reshoot everything they had shot with him.
Jeez.
It's like
God.
so that's what's kind of funny. Like when people revere the first movie, like, man, it's a fun '80s action movie, but it's a hot mess, like in its own right. Like it just had some like, it's so visceral because of that jungle feel, how violent it was, and it just was full of like larger than life actors. Like that's really the brilliance of that first movie is the ingenuity of the alien of the predator, but also these like just larger than life '80s action stars.
Yeah, you get this fun ensemble cast, and it was all new then too. You know, we'd never seen anything like Predator
Exactly.
before.
Right.
So
Yeah.
And you're seeing Jesse the Body Ventura.
Jesse
not wrestling?
Ventura, yeah,
Right.
Jesse Ventura, Schwarzenegger. Isn't Carl Weathers in that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, like just crazy cast.
Yeah.
Caitlin, you look like you don't know.
I don't. It's like I love going
I haven't
back
seen
and
it in
rewatching
probably
things.
20 years, honestly.
Well, and it's not one that I rewatch because, like I said, it's just not my favorite franchise. And this is one that I watched this twice. That's the first Predator movie I've watched more than once already.
I mean, the original is one of those movies for me that loses out because of I don't have cable, and so I lose out on flipping through on an afternoon and being like, oh hell yeah, I want to watch the last 2 hours of Predator, whatever. Like, but I'm rarely ever gonna reach for it, just personally.
yeah, I watched it about a year ago, but it was because I was showing my nephew the movie. I'm trying to like warm him up to an alien movie because he's a little scared of horror stuff, and I thought maybe
Yeah.
if I could get him in the door with Predator.
I can't wait. I
That's a
can't
good
wait for my
strategy.
kids to be old enough to be like, here's Predator. Let's watch this.
Yeah.
I've actually been thinking about going back and watching the first two again, though, just because of this movie.
Yeah.
Because I had that much fun with it. It's like, oh shit, I need more Predator.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Yeah, I can see
Apparently,
that.
I do too.
Yeah.
Here we are. All right. Would you recommend Prey? Casey,
Absolutely.
Ariel,
Yes, 100%.
Caitlin.
Yes.
Okay. Let's take a break, and I would like to visit my top 10 list on the other side of this. So stand by, friends.
You know, a lot of people write me and say, hey, Joe Bob Briggs, just what is monster vision? You don't need no special glasses or an insect's head, just a healthy love for slime and disrespect for the dead. We'll talk about some movies by the old double wide, and when you get that creepy feeling creeping up inside, well then you got monster vision, it's a heck of a fright. We're tearing the heart out of Saturday night. These Monster Vision movies serve a primitive drive, 'cause watching people die can make you feel so alive. So throw away your clicker now, the flick's have begun, 'cause there's nothing you can do while fully dressed that's as fun as watching TNT beneath the bug zapper light. We're tearing the heart out of Saturday night. Tearing the heart out of Saturday night. Hey, I'm Joe Bob Briggs, and you're listening to the Bloody Good Horror Podcast.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
Hello everyone. We were supposed to review The Black Phone last week. And then I was like having some health problems, so we couldn't record. We may revisit it. My feeling was like I wasn't hot enough on it to have it take up 2 weeks of my life. So
I didn't even watch it because I was going to watch it before the show.
I'm gonna
so-
be real. So I watched half of it and was super not into it. Like it felt,
Oh, really?
it has the vibe of like a cheap '70s after school special, is what it felt like to me. Ethan Hawke is real creepy, but as a
Mask is
movie,
cool
as a
looking.
movie, dude, I was just like, thumbs down.
I actually enjoyed it myself. I was looking
I
forward to
did.
talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see it just because like it's one of the bigger releases of this year, and I want to make sure I get to it. But I was, I was gonna watch it right before the show.
So that was going on. Kaylin, let's look at my top 10 list here.
I've got it up right here for you. Are we looking top five, bottom five?
Top 5, yeah.
Oh, do you want me to read your top 5 or read all of them?
Top 5, please.
Number 1 is Nope. Number 2 is X. Number 3 is Mad God. 4 is Spine of Night, and 5 is Watcher.
Oh, Watcher. Okay. I'm like, listen, I'm over here in my head going, did you see my face? I was like,
Yeah.
don't ask what it
There's some
is.
calculating.
I was like, don't ask what it is. You know this. Don't ask what it is. This is 3. I would put
Okay.
this above Mad God. I do love Mad God, but do I need to bump? Texas Chainsaw Massacre's at 10, right? Like I think that's a safe bump at this
Yeah,
point.
bottom 5 I can run through: Fresh, Scream, The Cursed, Torn Hearts, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, we can bump TCM. It
Oh
had
my God, it's
it,
official.
it had its time.
It did.
It lasted a while.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
yeah, you
really.
know. I like to
Hey,
get
Eric.
I like to get weird with it sometimes.
I do have a question for you before I forget.
Sure.
Tell me what happened last week with Hi-Fi.
Oh, you read my mind. That was actually the next thing I was going to talk about. Yeah, I finally put some new music out. It's been a hot minute. I had a single I put out in the spring at some point, but I finally finished this album I had been working on for about a year. It's called The Bloody Pit, and it's like a horror soundtrack like concept album. Like basically, I had a story that I wrote a soundtrack around to a thing that doesn't exist, but I wrote it like it was a movie soundtrack. So yeah, I got a lot of very nice notes from people. A lot of people picked it up the day it came out. It's on right now. It's on exclusively on Bandcamp. So if you go to Bandcamp and search hy.fy, no, I'm sorry, hy-fy.
Something.
Good Lord.
We
Stupid
linked it
guy.
on Twitter. So
Here's a fun fact, Caitlin. Did you know that the Bloody Pit is a real place?
I only knew because of what you had posted about, how sort of it
Yeah, I was making
kind of
some
inspiring the track.
I was making some music last summer and I was looking around. I think I was like searching for urban legends that were like local to Massachusetts because that's where I was living at the time. And I discovered this one about this basically it was a merchants in Massachusetts at the time didn't have a good route to the west to sell goods, which was limiting them because they had this port where they could bring in stuff from the rest of the world. But they could make stuff, but they didn't really have a good way to get it to like the rest of this is in the 1800s. They didn't have a good way to really get it to the rest of the country, even though rail was like connecting everything. So they have to, some people decided to create, or like the Commonwealth, I guess. It's called the Hoosac Tunnel. And it's basically a giant mountain in Western Mass that they just had to bore through so that they could run railroad tracks through it. And at the time, it was to be the second longest train tunnel in the world or something like that. It ended up taking almost 50 years to complete it. It was like almost like, so it started during the Civil War. Civil War was long over by the time it was finished. It went through multiple like business people and owners, and basically along the way, so many people died that people familiar with the project started calling it the Bloody Pit. And there was like rumors that curses existed around it because it was like leaving people destitute and people were dying in the mountain, like trying to, build this thing or whatever. So, and you can actually go, it's really cool. You can if you look up the Hoosac Tunnel on like Google Maps, you can like go, it's a little hike, you can find where the actual entrance to it is. It's very creepy because it's in the woods. It's not like it's not an entrance that's in a very like it's not off of a road or something. You know what I mean? Anyway, I've really wanted to visit. It's only a couple hours away, but I just sort
I
of
was gonna
use
say you should. I mean, be careful, but
I use that
Yeah.
as inspiration, basically, to in my head and sort of somewhat on paper, write like nonfiction, fiction, sorry, rather story taking place sort of around that. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, it helped me just kind of visualize, I guess, the music I was trying to make. But yeah, check it
Well,
out.
congrats on the release.
Thank you. It feels good. It's been it took me the actual music making didn't take me super long, but it's sort of been sporadic when I could come back to it and keep working on it. So I'm pretty excited. I'm happy to get it out and sort of be free from that and focus on some new stuff. So yeah, check it out at Bandcamp. Search for HY-FY.
I wore my hi-fi shirt to I don't remember where I wore it. I wore it the other day, and I was like, if anyone asks me, there's new music. And don't ask
No
me,
one
but
asked.
I was probably just somewhere boring, like the grocery store. So
Lame. Speaking of things going on, Caitlin, what's going on? Plug it up these days.
Oh, just rocking and rolling. Old friend of BGH, Joe Charnews, was on for Silent House, which was a lot of fun. Our buddy Jason from Dads from the Crypt is going to be on here soon. So just lots of our podcast buddies, and then the second round of horror trivia happened here in Richmond that I host, and it was really fun. Creature features, and I finished up writing next month's theme, which is slashers, and I'm very excited.
I love it. Ariel, what's going on with the Zombie Girls, GRRLZ?
Thank you for always remembering that. I always forget to tell people. Yeah, so let me think. On Stream Queens, we're about to release an episode. I just finished editing it yesterday, where they covered Brahms the Boy 2. So you get to hear Mars and Rachel just absolutely trash a movie. It's really hilarious. Actually, tomorrow I'm recording an episode of More Deadly. That's our podcast where we focus on women identified horror directors. And Jason from Dads from the Crypt is coming on to join us. We're going to be talking about Freddy's Dead. And that episode will be coming out next week.
I love Freddy's Dead.
Jason is a busy man.
Yeah.
Freddy's Dead is so good. Like when I was a kid, I remember like loving it because it's just so different and like out there.
It is different. It's really fun. Yeah.
I'm
looking forward to talking about it.
Love it. Caitlin, have you seen Freddy's Dead? That was not a look of recognition.
It is. I actually was talking about sort of like the major horror franchises with Mary the other night. We were talking about like Jason, Freddy, and Michael as being sort of like the three horror icons of a certain era. And I was talking about how much I love Freddy Krueger, how he's probably my favorite of that crew. And Freddy's Dead is one that I have not gone back to.
So I think it's the only one of any of those franchises directed by a woman.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's on HBO Max, so
not to shame you into watching it now, Caitlin, but
no, I want to. And I like to keep up with More Deadly, so I'll have to go back and check it out.
Love it. All right, Casey, people can find you Cinema Fromage.
Cinema.fromage on Instagram's the best place to find me.
.fromage and your
posting all many your pictures.
Love it. What do we got on Twitter?
All right. You got questions. We got answers. Hit us up with the Ask BGH hashtag.
I don't think we can legally say that, but okay.
Yeah.
We're
going to give you our version of an answer. Whether you use that advice or not.
No, isn't that like a commercial slogan? Isn't that like Geico or something?
Something.
Aflac or something?
Like every morning zoo radio host ever.
Yeah.
All right, our first tweet comes in from a longtime friend of the show, at Whitney Please. Have you ever been axe throwing? What would you rate your axe throwing skills on a level of 0 to Naru?
I'm going to guess Ariel has. She seems to live in the land of axe throwing. I feel like.
I actually have never been axe throwing. I wish Rachel and Matilda were on because they actually go do that regularly.
See?
There's like a bar.
I knew it was happening over there.
Oh my God, rank them. Who's better at it?
We haven't got that. We even have that in Indiana, Eric.
No, they have it everywhere, but it's especially prevalent in like hipster enclaves.
Yeah, very true.
We've got some here in Richmond, and I've never been. I'm really scared that I'm going to throw it and it's going to hit the wall, but like bounce back at me. Like not the sharp end, but like I'll hit it like
Mhm.
the wrong end
And
and
whack
it'll bounce
yourself in the
back.
head.
Yeah.
You think you
Gotcha.
have predator strength?
I haven't tried it, but I honestly think it looks fun. But after like my last year with my back and stuff like that, I'm afraid that as soon as I like throw a hatchet
Yeah,
with one
dude.
arm, it's just gonna come off.
Putting a hatchet, if your like back is iffy, like pulling a
Yeah.
hatchet back over your head and then hucking it is like probably not a safe call.
A bad
Yeah.
idea. Yeah.
With like 15 pounds, right?
Your surgeon would be like, "Easy, god damn it."
Just
Yeah.
anyone, anyone out there when you hit our age, it's like any kind of stray movement that you're not doing every day, like be careful, dude, because you know
Yeah.
it can go sideways.
And always remember, you're not as young as you once were. All right, next one comes up from @CO_W Flanagan. Yo, how many diseases did Naru get by smearing glowing alien blood all over her face? I done got at least 3 just from licking human special parts.
Cool.
Classic.
Thanks for the
Probably no
share.
worse than the smallpox that she probably got from the French
The French
settlers.
guys, yeah. Oof.
Yeah,
That's dark.
I'd like to think that it like
but it'd be alien smallpox.
Right.
maybe it imbued her with like cool strength. I don't know.
Mm.
I'm gonna go positive on this one.
Yeah, maybe it's a Spider-Man situation where she
Yes.
gains some predator powers.
Yeah, or like some
Casey-
immunity to other stuff.
Were you gonna go back to? Did we have some black phone ones?
No, we got quite a bit for this week. So.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Next up, we have @rel_on_films, rel on films. What animal do you have an irrational fear of that most people don't?
You already know it. I fucking hate ticks.
I think that's a pretty
Yeah,
rational
ticks are
fear, though.
awful.
I don't know about this question because, like, it's rational to be afraid of animals, Casey.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm
I disagree-
thinking
I
they're
disagree.
led by the bear.
I disagree with this poster's premise. Is all I'm saying.
Talk about Twitter discourse. My goodness.
All I
Don't
know is I'm
trust
still
animals.
terrified of ostriches and emus.
That is totally reasonable. Their legs can kick you so hard it'll kill you. They can like rip out your intestines with their toes.
I get this
And there's
lady's.
some like alien thinking going on behind those eyes.
I get this
Eric,
lady's.
you're about to say the TikTok lady?
Yeah, this lady's videos
Yeah.
on TikTok where she farms ostriches and she does it. They're always
Yeah.
trying to attack her and she stops them
Right.
just by like
The
putting
mean
her
one.
hand.
She always just
She
like
puts her
grabs
hand up
it.
like Chris Pratt style, and yeah, it's like fascinating. But it's
Yeah.
become a meme that like they're just trying to kill her.
I saw like a TikTok in like a Stitch or something that was like, "Can you just do that to my neck though?" And I was like, "Okay, easy." Horny on Maine.
I found a dead mouse in my last apartment when I was moving out, and I lost my ever loving mind. Like and actually like just like a month ago in my office, 2 mice ran out from under a door directly at me, and I thought I was gonna die. It was horrifying. They're
I
so
had it when I lived in
disgusting.
the city. They're so fast, and they can fit into like any, like they can squish down into like a tiny hole.
Ugh.
My
Worst.
problem is more that if we get mice, my cat catches them, but isn't always great about totally killing them.
Ooh.
And then I'm left with the job. So,
Mm.
Yeah, that sucks.
Do your job, cat. Like
right?
that's what I tried to tell my landlord when I lived in the city. We couldn't have pets, but we had a lot of mice, and I was like, "Did you know that even the smell of a cat will deter mice?" And he was like, "No."
Ugh, God.
He wasn't having it, huh?
I guess I
Hence,
would
moved to
maybe
the
I guess I would maybe say that's my irrational fear because like I know they can spread disease and stuff, but like I'm irrationally terrified of mice.
All right, next up, we got a good one from @TheNunClub. What character from any horror/horror adjacent movie would you consider the most formidable and fun foe to face Predator in an Alien versus Predator style mashup? A. Psycho Gorman, B. Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters, C. Gabriel from Malignant, or D. Your choice.
Oh my God, Gabriel versus Predator would be
that
hilarious.
would be great.
Gabriel's
That'd
just
be
so
pretty nuts.
dumb and Gabriel's just so dumb and amazing on its own that like against a Predator
Yeah.
would be incredible. Like doing
Just
its weird
backward runs.
it's backward face fighting.
PG Psycho Gorman, when he's dressed up like the Jurassic Park guy fighting
Yeah,
Predator, would
yes.
be very amusing to me.
With like the brain just watching.
Right, right.
That's a good question. I'm trying to think of like, choose your own, but those are really good suggestions they put forward.
Yeah. We got 2 more here. I'm going to ask. We've actually got 3 more, but Nuke Spook's question is pretty close to stuff we've already discussed in the show. So, which is, kind of like where you rank your Predator movies. We had a good discussion on that. Next comes at Skizbot. My buddy once found himself in hot water when he told his wife, "I just love how plump you've gotten." What's the worst compliment you've ever received?
Oh,
First of
man.
all, your friend's a fucking idiot.
I know.
Yeah.
Being a larger bodied woman, I always get like, you have such a pretty face or you have such nice skin. And it's like, it's nice to hear that, but like the sort of like underlying message is like, wouldn't it be so much cooler if you were also thin? Like you'd be
Right,
so
'cause they're
pretty
just saying
if
you're so
I was-
pretty.
I
They're
was-
saying you have a pretty face. you know?
exactly.
I was told
Yeah.
once I'd be hotter if I was taller, and that was intended as a compliment. So
What the hell is that a
thanks for that person who said that thing. I literally never forgot.
Yeah, it's like I've forgotten all these years
Nope.
later.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
All right,
I had
last-
somebody
Go ahead.
No, go.
go
I
right
was
ahead,
gonna say,
Eric.
I had somebody tell me I was cuter when I was a kid once,
Oh
looking
my
at photos of me,
God.
which I was a very adorable kid, but still, that's
Good lord.
rude.
All right, last up we have one from at Lovely Dead Adam. Are you going to watch Rob Zombie's Brothers movie? I think it's on Shudder, so the only reasonable excuse not to is no, it's Rob Zombie's brother.
What is this movie? Do we know?
Yeah.
Allegoria. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfamiliar. I'm only familiar from this tweet. I don't know what that is.
It
It's
just
like
came
an
out, like-
anthology one
Is
with
his-
different vignettes,
his
but there's no
name-
like wraparound story. I feel bad for saying this, but I actually started the movie and couldn't finish it.
Is his
so-
name
I
like
mean,
Don Zombie? Like, what's his name?
it's Spider One.
Oh my! Shut the fuck! No, I'm not watching Spider One's fucking movie.
For that alone, Eric
Get the
said nope.
Fuck out of here, Spider One. Fucking asshole. Now I'm angry.
I know people are liking it. And I love an anthology movie.
Yeah.
But there was no wraparound, so it was a little disjointed, and the stories were pretty predictable where they were going to go, and I just didn't think they were very well done. But maybe I just needed to watch the last half.
Who's your
I don't
favorite
know.
horror director? I'm pretty into Spider One these days.
I'm gonna get you a Spider One merch,
Yeah.
Eric. For
That would be hilarious.
I bet
Do
he.
that.
I bet he has his own merch line too. Nobody named
Oh,
Spider One.
You know what band he has, right?
No.
Power Man 5000.
Oh, wait. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
He's the lead singer of that one, so he's
That-
actually touring with Rob right now.
that tracks.
I sense some nepotism going on with that lineup there.
I don't know how you could say that about Rob Zombie. All right, that's it for tweets, Eric.
Oh, where'd my phone go? Okay. Instagram. Thank you, Casey.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Can I? Wait, let's get out of here. Because do we have ones from last week? Man, I was like asleep at the wheel last week, huh?
You were pretty
It's
sick
an
last week,
excuse.
but it's okay.
You have no idea. It got dark. What is the best and worst Predator film?
Best Prey for me.
Well, I mean, I think the original, and I think it's pretty clearly Requiem is like pretty bad
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what I
because
would
it's
go with
also
as well.
cheap. It's also cheap. Like I said, like people really don't seem to like the Predator, but at least it's got big budget, dumb Hollywood shit in it, right? Like it's got some
Yeah.
popcorn shit going on in it. Like Requiem was just when they were like, it's just cheap as hell. What are you most proud of? Says Caitlin's friend. I can't answer
Nick.
this. I don't know.
I'm proud of my friendship with Nick because he is the best.
Aw, you're so sweet.
I'm proud of The Bloody Pit now out on Bandcamp.
There you go, bud.
Yep.
Yeah, you should be.
Are you proud of this amazing show you've put together too?
Pretty proud of it.
It's okay.
Depends on the week.
When you do, you know what though? When you do something long enough, it's hard to feel that. If I'm being honest,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
it's just a thing that's existed in my life since before. Like,
Half your life, over
Yeah.
half your life. Yeah.
I mean, not quite half my life, but yeah. I mean, Bloody Good Horror.
Close.
Bloody Good
Yeah.
Horror itself has been for half my life. Yeah.
That's
I'm
More-
really
cool.
proud of my drawing journey.
You
Yeah.
should be.
You should be. Man.
Consider it's only been like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
You're very talented.
Yeah, I enjoy watching them all pop up on Instagram. They're great.
I'm always like, how do you like think of things?
I know.
And how do you draw? I don't know. Same with Eric making music. I'm like, I don't understand.
I just follow the dopamine, Caitlin. It leads me where I need to be.
Pretty much.
Take you. Don't try math.
Will any Predator movie eclipse the original? Also, how often do you quote that movie? It's not a big touchstone for me, as much as I like it. Is Get to the Chopper from that, or is that from something else?
I think that was Commando, but I'm not 100%.
Yeah, I can't remember.
So I actually don't have a lot of quotes from that movie.
Yeah, I like the callback in this one where where they say if it bleeds, you can kill it, which is from the first movie.
Yeah,
That was
I
kinda
liked
cool.
the visual callback to the Predator rising up out of the quicksand, like Arnold.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Real good one here from Brian. Predator versus Candyman.
Oh.
It's a
Ooh,
good one.
Like
that might be good.
the Predator versus like the Candyman, or
think
just
this
like
is-
the movies.
No, I
against each
think this is an old school BGH versus question. Who wins?
Okay.
Yeah, the Predator
Like,
versus
who
the
would win?
Candyman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
other. Mm.
I think Supernatural Bees might outdo Alien doohickeys.
Yeah. Yeah, actually.
I don't know
Yes,
though,
yes.
because we've obviously said that comes down to intelligence to get past the Predator, and Candyman's got kind of a repetitive routine on his
Well,
kills, doesn't he? You know what? You know how
Candyman's-
to summon him.
Candyman's game is also very psychological, which would be kind of funny against basically just a big dumb murder animal. Alien,
can't understand
That
him.
doesn't. Yeah, there's no internal world there.
It's a draw.
Yeah, that'd be a good fight.
I don't even know how to answer this, but top 4 Predator franchise characters to help you fight a predator.
I don't remember the characters enough. Give me
Yeah.
Jesse the Body and that guy from the second movie that was always dry shaving.
I mean,
in the jungle.
I think the answer's pretty. It's like Arnold. This is, only because this would be like a hilarious group of people to get together at the same time. Arnold, Danny Glover, Adrian Brody, and this main character from this movie whose name I forgot,
And the dog.
and the dog. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
5.
the dog. Get the dog there.
Like I like the idea though of like all these warriors and then just like beat cop.
Yeah.
You know. What other era would you want to see the Predators hunt in? I mean, listen, let's just line up those Assassin's Creed games and go down. Let's go do like, ancient Italy.
Christian from It's Only a Podcast said feudal Japan, which
Mhm.
Japan would
Casey,
be
I think,
cool.
you said
Easy
that too,
answer,
like,
easy answer. Feudal Japan, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the costuming would be so great.
yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. Interesting weapons.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? They've
Yeah, I get
never.
that.
Oh
It'd be
well,
sword fights.
I was trying to remember. Predators
You
wasn't.
could have a samurai predator.
Predators wasn't near future though, right? Because you can go near future too with like Call of Duty style weapons on the humans.
Yeah.
You could go forward as well.
This is a random thought, but one of the things I always thought was the biggest letdown as far as the franchise, including the AVP stuff, is I think they showed a hint of it at the end of the first AVP movie, but I always wanted to see what happened when the Xenomorph crossed with the Predator. And they gave us a little taste of it, but they never did anything more with it. I think that would have been cool to see.
Yeah, dude.
Sure.
I want to see, man. I want to see the third Prometheus movie so bad. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think it's gonna happen, but I just loved where it was going. I want to know what that screenplay is for part 3.
I know.
Was Covenant the second one?
Yes.
Yeah.
I hated that movie, but
Oh,
I know a lot of people
man.
like it.
I loved both of those movies. They're real. They feel sloppy in a way, but like I just loved the ideas in those movies.
Just when he started basically like horse whispering to the alien, I was just sort of like,
Yeah.
I can't with this.
Counterpoint: Michael Fassbender kissing himself.
Yeah.
Throwing that out there.
Sold. What was I thinking?
Last question of the evening. Isn't it time for a Scream without Sydney? Setting aside the PR nightmare.
Whoa.
I gotta say,
spicy.
I was, and unless I get history proves me correct, but I assumed that they were eventually gonna sign her. That like this was just I don't know how familiar you guys are with this, but like there's been a lot of Twitter like
Yeah.
she's made a statement. They've made a statement. She just came out this week and was like, "Listen, they wouldn't pay me as much as they would pay a man in this situation," which like totally understandable. But I assumed we were just making noise because we were at that part of the contract negotiations, and they would cave and just like give her what you wanted. Because why wouldn't you? But it's I mean, that movie's shooting right now, and she's not there. So like, I'm kind of
No, she's not going to be in it.
yeah, I kind
it's
of
a done deal at this
actually
point.
feel like I'm shocked. Like I'm kind of shocked. But
Mhm.
also, what was her? I mean, she did not. They had nothing for her to do in the last movie, or really. I mean, we can debate. I thought Dewey was the best part of the last movie, but
Yeah, well, they didn't write her character well in that one, and Courtney Cox too. She got like no witty lines, which is basically her best part in all of the movies.
I truly
But,
just
I mean,
feel like at this point, if you're gonna go new blood, just do it. Just go all the way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if creatively that was the choice they were going to make, I just think the way that it went down is so shitty because,
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
Neve Campbell has basically carried that franchise on her back for 2 decades, and they can't bother to pay her a decent salary. I mean, this last movie was the most popular. I mean, it made more money than the previous one, even though it's a pandemic when people aren't going to the theater as much. So it's bullshit to say that like they can't pay her more. It's absolute crap. So
Yeah,
I can't separate the two, frankly.
No, it's
Now,
pretty wild.
Before you roll your eyes as I say this, but there's somewhere I might have been MTV. I'm not sure. There's 2 seasons of a Scream TV show that has nothing to do with the original characters, so we kind of know what that looks like. They weren't the greatest options because of the network they were on, but they weren't terrible.
And I think generally,
they're fun.
I don't know how I felt at the time, but now I'm just really feeling like if you want this series to continue, I think you just need a clean break from those characters. Like, in some ways, Scream, because I think Scream 4s look way better than Scream 5, but
big time.
in some ways, like the characters in Scream 5, those returning ones, it was like we had this whole like standalone movie that was pretty decent in a lot of its own ways. And then it was like you just would take a break to go visit these other characters doing something. It felt very kind of shoehorned in. I think I like Dewey because they weave him the most in the plot. Whereas then it's just
I just don't think they
Neve
knew what to do
Campbell's
with those characters.
Then Neve Campbell's like jogging and taking a phone call for like the first half of the movie. You know what I mean? Like
at the same time, though, I am one of those people where like I'm sure it would be different if I saw a Scream movie without Neve Campbell. But like I'd be like, I don't even want to see it. Like, and I would see it obviously, but I was like, she's Sydney. Like, come on.
You're gonna probably get a chance next year, Caitlin. We'll talk about it.
It's kind of like the arguments with Star Wars and stuff up until now too. Like people saying they need to stop rehashing the Skywalker stories because we've had those same characters that we've seen rehashed in 9 different movies now.
Yeah. Well, it was all planned out ahead of time, Casey.
I know.
Just kidding. All right, that's it. It's gonna do it for Prey. Yeah, and I don't know that we have next week lined up yet, but we will be back. So look out, world. Maybe Schnars will even show up. We'll see. That's gonna do it for this week's show. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you next week.
In honor of Schnars, I will do his say yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.